Been a hot minute. What can I say? Life throws us curveballs, and we take a minute and we crack on. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make cherry blossom with gum paste using minimal equipment. So there's going to be no cutters, no veiners, just a few things that I've got here which I'm going to show you in a minute. Fairly quick to do. I've tried several different ways and this is the way that I'm enjoying using at the minute. Just use the tips that you find helpful and you do you. If you like the content in this video, please do remember to subscribe. It's really helpful for me, and like the video, and also if you turn on the notifications you will get notifications every time I make a new video, which hopefully, fingers crossed, will be a bit more often this year. Let's crack on with the video and I hope you enjoy it.
So first of all, let's have a look at the equipment we're going to be using. I have got 3 different shades of pink gum paste here, going from an extremely light down to a sort of almost mid pink there. I've got a foam cell pad and I've got a self-healing mat. You don't have to use a self-healing mat, but this is really handy because it's got these markings, and you will see why in a minute. I've also got a knife, a Dresden tool, a board. I've got some edible glue in here, ready to use. That's just something I've made up myself, but you can buy it ready-made, that's absolutely fine. I've got a brush for the glue, and I've also got this other little pot here which is going to be really helpful for putting gum paste in as I'm working, just to keep it from drying out. I've got some 30 gauge wire here. This I find is fine for this particular gum paste, which can be thinned out and it keeps it fairly lightweight. If you're worried about the weight, you could go up to a 26 gauge, that would be absolutely fine. You're also going to obviously need some wire cutters to cut your wire, and some pliers, and you'll need some tape. I'm going for a green tape today and green wires. And I've got some corn flour here to stop everything getting too sticky if it starts getting warm. I've got some scissors, and I've got these little stamen here. You can use any stamen as long as they've got a very thin white thread. And I've got here some semolina. Now this semolina is quite fine, that's just what I have at the moment, but you can use the slightly coarser grain as well, that will be absolutely fine. You're also going to need something to hang your blossom from. I'm using this cake stand here, which it had a plate on the top. I've just taken the plate out and it actually works really very nicely as a little blossom drying rack. I normally use a dish, like a foldable wire dish rack, but that's actually in use elsewhere at the moment, so I'm using this instead. So throughout the video I'm going to be showing you a full bloom, a half bloom and a bud, so make sure you keep watching if you want to see all 3. Start by taking a bunch of wires and cutting them into thirds. Using your pliers, create a small hook at the top of each wire. We're going to start with a larger bloom, so take your lightest colour of gum paste and start rolling it into a sausage shape. Then place it on the mat and take your small board, and using the smooth side you're going to roll over the sausage, and this will create a uniform finish along the length.
Roll a piece until it is about 1 centimetre in thickness, and this is where the cutting mat comes in handy because it's got those markings. So I can now cut along the strip and make sure that each piece is also 1 centimetre in length. Now I'm going to place all the spare pieces inside the pot to stop them drying out while I work on my first blossom. Start by rolling your first piece into a ball and then roll one side into a point so you end up with a rounded cone shape. Holding the pointed end between your fingers, cut into the rounded end about 1/3 so you end up with a smaller and larger piece. Cut this smaller piece in half and then turn around and cut the larger piece into 3 using 2 snips. Pinch each of these pieces gently between your thumb and finger. Use some corn flour if your gum paste starts to stick. You will see your flower shape start to form. Place the flower down onto your foam pad and take the wider end of your Dresden tool. Place your Dresden tool in the centre of the flower and start pulling out from the centre of each petal. So I'm going to show you that again slowly on the next petal here. So in the centre, and then the sides, and then you need to thin out along the top edge of the petal, and then I'm just going to go in again the centre and each side just to give it a nice finish. Then lift it up, turn, and onto the next petal. And if you see my Dresden tool disappear out of shot, that's where I am just using the corn flour just to keep everything nice and dry and stop it sticking. So once you've done all of your 5 petals, you need to take your wire and you're going to insert this into the center of the flower and down through the pointed end at the back. And when the hook has just gone into the flower, that's when you need to pinch and squeeze between your thumb and your finger. Moving on to the stamen, cut off the ends so you're just left with the threads. Then snip the threads in half. Take a bunch of about 6 or 7 threads and dip the very tips into some edible glue. So you can just see there's just a tiny amount of glue on there. Then push the stamen into the center of your blossom. Take your scissors and carefully trim the stamen. It's important that you should be able to see the tips of the stamen above the petals. Then using your finger, split the stamen apart and shape them. Using a brush, dab the tips of the stamen with glue. you should be able to see tiny globules of glue on the ends. Then take your semolina, and this is why your stamen need to be standing proud of your petals, because you're going to push them into the semolina, and obviously if your petals are sticking up above the stamen, they're going to get in it. As you can see, mine did get in it a little tiny bit anyway, so I'm just going to carefully brush those off with a dry paintbrush. Use your thumb and finger to pinch the flower and help secure and shape it. Pinch and twist off any excess gum paste. Make sure you leave enough gum paste to keep the flower stable, and then go round and just carefully shape the petals with your fingers. Bend the end of your wire into a hook and hang upside down on your drying rack. Leave this for about a few hours, or ideally overnight, to make sure it's fully dry. Moving on to a more closed flower, we're going to repeat the process again, this time with the slightly darker, the mid-toned gum paste. So far you can see I've used exactly the same process, but this time I'm going to stop with just 3 strokes of the Dresden tool on each petal. Please excuse my camera for going out of focus here. It just wanted to focus on the foam pad, but it will come back into focus in just a second. Use the darkest shade of pink to create your buds. Split a section in half and use one of these pieces to roll into the cone shape. This time split the bud into 2. Then straight away insert the wire and close the bud around the hook. Once the bud is closed, take your thumb and finger and gently twist the bud around just to give it a bit more of a naturalistic shape. Leave this to dry with the other blossoms ready for dusting. And now we're on to the dusting. So I'm going to start with my pink shades here. These are a dusty pink, and I'm going to go straight into the center of the blossom there. You really don't need very much. Go very, very lightly. If you put too much on, you're not going to be able to get it off. So it's better to put it on very, very lightly and then add more if needed. Remember to tip your flower upside down and give it a little tap just to shake off any excess. Moving on to the stamen, I've got two different shades of yellow here, a brighter yellow and a more of a gold colour. And turning the flower on its side, gently tap the stamen with the brush so that you don't dust yellow onto the petals. As I work my way through the blossom, you'll notice if you look carefully that each one is different from the next. And this is really a special quality with these blossoms that you won't necessarily get with a cutter. They have a very soft and naturalistic quality, which I really love. With the smaller blooms, treat them exactly the same, but once you've done the centre, give them a light dusting with the pink on the outside, just to make them that little bit darker. The buds will just need a light dusting on the tips with the pink. If you're going to attach your blossoms to a larger stem, you'll need to tape them. So this is the moment when you're going to need to do that. So I'm just going to show you with this one. I didn't actually attach mine to a stem, they went straight into the cake. So I'm only going to show you this one just so you can see what you need to do. So you take your tape and make sure that you pull it taut to activate the sticky glue on the tape, and then gently twist in between your fingers, pinching the tape round as you go to make it adhere to the wire, and twist using the tips of your fingers all the way down to the base of the wire, keeping that tape taut the entire way. As a finishing touch, I'm going to add the suggestion of a calyx using dusting powder. So I'm just using this foliage green and I'm going to mix that with a bit of the leftover yellow just to create a bit of variation in the colour and make it naturalistic. Now your blooms will be ready to either attach to a stem or add straight onto your cake. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the comments box below. I will try and answer as many as I can, and I'll see you again soon.